We're now live.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. This is a special Board of Education meeting for Monday, October 3rd. We will start commencing the meeting in a good way and acknowledge the territories that we are having this meeting on. The Greater Victoria School District wishes to recognize and acknowledge the Esquimalt and Songhees nations on whose traditional territories we live, we learn, and we do our work. As Trustee Ferris did in the previous meeting, acknowledging the incredible powwow that took place downtown and all the other ceremonies that were taking place on the South Island on the National Day of Reconciliation. It was moving to see the photos come in and certainly see all the bikes that were down in Fernwood or North Park, pardon me. Lots of good things happening on that day. So we're going to go to approval of the agenda. We have a recommended motion that the October 3rd, 2022 special board meeting agenda be approved. Can I have a mover for the agenda, please? Moved by Nicole, seconded by Anne. Are there amendments to the agenda? Nicole, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wanted us to add a section for community presentations. And so everything
where
would
would
just
you like that to be put?
Yeah, so everything would just be moved down. So we would have, rather than B meaning being new business, B would
So
become.
have B become community presentations, and then new business would fall under C, and
Correct.
so on and
Yeah,
so forth.
that's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
do we know how many community presentations we have, or?
Yeah, well, I'm only aware of two. I don't know if staff are aware of more individuals who have asked to speak tonight. I'm aware of two that
Okay.
requested to speak tonight to present
Do
to the
we
board.
have names and items so we can add them?
Yeah, so we have, and again, staff can correct me, they may have an more up-to-date list, but I have Deanna Pfeiffer, and secondly, Ian Graham.
Okay, thank you. And sorry, just so for the minutes, the topics, we could probably guess what they are, but just for the minute, for the record.
Yeah, the agenda items on tonight's agenda. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any speakers for approval of the agenda tonight before we move it? I'm just going to start to speak on this, and this is to say, and it isn't to say that I don't want to have this discussion, but this is not the right place to be having this discussion here tonight. The board has received legal advice, legal opinion
Chair,
on the validity of.
Chair,
Yes,
pardon me,
I'm
point of order.
speaking. Yes, yes,
Point of
yes,
order.
yes, yes, yes.
If you may hear my point of order, and then
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, thank you. So I believe we have an amendment to the agenda.
Oh yes, go to the amendment first. My
Yeah,
apologies.
thank you, Chair.
I was racing ahead of it. Yes, let's do that. Thank you for getting me back on track. Appreciate it. Okay, so we have an amendment to add the two speakers. All those in favor to add Ian and Deanna Pfeiffer to community presentations. All those in favor, please signify. And Elaine, you can just say aye if you're on the phone. All those opposed?
I'm on the phone, but I'm not going to say aye.
Okay, so are you opposed then, Elaine, I'm assuming?
I am. I am.
All right, so that is all in favor except for Trustee Elaine Leonard, who is opposed. So the agenda is amended. So now speakers to the amended agenda, and I will just go back to my points, unless someone would like to motivate, mover or seconder. Seeing none, I will speak.
Can I just clarify what you're speaking to? You're
I'm speaking to the agenda. Yeah, Trustee Whitaker, I have the floor. Okay. Trustee Whitaker, I have the floor. Thank you very much. I'm speaking to the proposed agenda. Thank you. So the board has received legal opinion on the validity. Yes. Yes.
Could the chair point of order? So I know that this is going to be a difficult agenda for us, but if we could just slow down and just pause and hear Trustee Whitaker's question and just clarify.
I didn't know there was a question. I thought.
I believe it is. Yeah. So and then we'll get to you, but that's my suggestion.
Trustee Whitaker, go ahead if you have a question about the approval of the agenda.
My question was what we were speaking to at the moment, which was
Mhm.
answered, but thanks
Yep.
for slowing down so you
I
can hear the
answered.
question.
Yep, I did answer. I heard the question and answered it. Thank you. So the board has received a legal opinion. It has received it today on the validity of the actions taken during the period of Trustee McNally and Trustee Painter's suspensions. The board has not had an opportunity to review together or meet with legal counsel, which will occur later this week. That meeting has already been scheduled for Friday. In the interim, in the intervening period, the board having any opportunity to meet with counsel and raise questions about legal implications, I think it's not appropriate that we deal with this in public, especially given the subject matter being considered tonight. I have very serious concerns, not to discount the public interest, the folks who are participating tonight, who are listening, who will likely listen to this after it has been posted onto YouTube, and certainly not to discount the interests and concerns of our stakeholders. But I have, and given the legal advice all trustees have received this afternoon, I have very serious concerns. So I will not be voting in favor of approving the agenda this evening on that basis, because I do feel that we need to be bringing this in camera. So in the event that we cannot move forward tonight, and I don't know how we're going to go, but I would encourage my colleagues to allow us to bring this in camera so that we can have these discussions with legal counsel together as a board and work through these. So I'll not be supporting the agenda tonight.
Chair, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are you ruling this agenda out of order then?
No, I'm not ruling it out of order. I'm just voting against approving the agenda tonight.
Okay.
Next speaker, I'm going to go to Trustee Rob Painter, and then I see Trustee Duncan. And I think I saw Trustee McNally too, but perhaps I didn't. Trustee Painter, go ahead.
I note that the motions before us do not actually oblige the board to take any action or actually enter into deliberations regarding the main issue of the partial disposal bylaw until after such time as the board has had an opportunity to talk with legal representation. The challenge is that at this present time, every day that we delay advising the Ministry of Education about our need to confirm our position on this it increases the likelihood that it will become a moot point and that a decision will be made in our absence, in our failure to actually properly advise. If we choose to move forward with the disposal, then that can be addressed on October 11th after the board has had a chance to have legal representation advise us. But if we do not act at this point in time, pretty much guarantee that by October 11th, any opportunity that we might have to actually engage with the community and as a legally constituted, fully representative board, since the board that actually made the decision was in a move that I still am gobsmacked that it struck at the
motion.
I will make my comments. Thank you very much, Trustee Waters. This board took it upon itself to erode a fundamental aspect of
Trustee Painter,
representational
with all due
democracy.
respect, Trustee
Chair
Painter, with all due
Painter,
respect,
I
Trustee
gave you
Painter,
ample opportunity and I listened
Trustee
to everything
Painter,
you had to say.
Trustee
I
Painter,
would
if
request
you
that you
can,
give me
I'm
the
calling you
same
to
courtesy.
order. Trustee
No.
Painter, I'm just calling you to order. Just give me a second, okay, Trustee Painter? Just give me a second, and I'm just going to explain what I'm going to say, please. And all I'm trying to say is if you can keep your comments focused on approval of the agenda, that's all I'm asking. Continue.
just taking a pause for a sec. And I thank you, Chair. I did need a break. What it comes down to is if we do not take action now, it is my expectation that the decision will be made for us. I understand that that might be entirely consistent with the desires of some of the board, but I am concerned that it will once again demonstrate a fundamental erosion of representative democracy as reflected in this board. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Painter. I appreciate the deep breath, and we're all trying to work through this together. It's uncharted territories for everybody here. Trustee Duncan, and then Trustee McNally, and then Trustee Whitaker.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So I'm not going to repeat my colleague Trustee Rob Painter's comments. I agree with him. There is nothing on this board agenda which will limit in any way the board's ability to consider whatever legal advice it has received. In fact, what it does achieve is a placeholder in the calendar. First of all, it allows us to commit to, after considering legal advice, decide how to proceed in relation to an urgent matter. The land disposal is an urgent matter. It became urgent the day after our last board meeting on the 26th, when the minister moved to approve the land sale. So, and I think it's only right, in respect to the agenda, for this board to formally notify the Minister of Education and Childcare, who is our partner, our co-governing partner, of the judicial review outcome, and the fact that the board is considering what that means moving forward. So I would urge my colleagues to take the time to listen to the presentations, to consider the motions, and to move ahead with the agenda without fear that it somehow won't allow us to consider legal advice. That is not the impact or the effect of either motion on the agenda.
Thank you, Trustee Duncan. I've got Trustee Ferris and Trustee Leonard on deck, but I'm going to go to Trustee McNally and then Trustee Whitaker following.
Thank you, Chair. This is a question that I think it impacts whether I approve the agenda or not. Chair, you referenced legal advice that the board received, which influences your vote on approving the agenda or not. I'm aware of that legal advice. Is it also subject to a judicial review, as was the last legal advice you got?
So the last legal advice was not to me, it was to the board as a constituted body. What I can't comment. I don't know the that's not a question I can answer. I don't know. Yeah, I'll let that question stand out in the air, but it's not a question I'm prepared to answer.
Okay, so I would say that it's not definitive because it could be subject to judicial review. Thank you.
Yep, that's certainly an opinion. Trustee Whitaker.
Yeah, if you can just go to someone else for a minute. I'm just trying to look something up and I'll come back to me if that's okay.
Trustee Whitaker, I'm sorry, I cannot hear you. You are very muffled.
Can you come back to me in a minute after I look something up?
Yep. I've got Trustee Ferris, and then we'll check and see if Trustee Whitaker is ready.
I would simply like to be able to vote on the amendment.
Trustee Ferris, sorry, the amendment to add speakers has carried. Now we're talking on about, sorry, maybe I've misheard you. It's the amended motion to approve the agenda that we're on right now.
All right.
Yeah, so it's the...
Yeah, I would like to move on.
Okay, you'd like to vote. Okay. Thank you, Trustee Ferris. Trustee Whitaker, are you ready, or I can go to Trustee Leonard?
Yeah, I can go. Okay. I'm just really, really surprised that we're having to debate the agenda and whether or not we'll even have this discussion when this was duly called appropriately by trustees. And I guess I'm also alarmed when I know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars that we have spent on lawyers that for a decision that was very important to us, we were very involved in, and we knew this was coming. We were all sitting on eggshells waiting for a decision. So I'm concerned that there isn't a lawyer. Our lawyer wasn't ready the day the decision came out to speak to us. I find it alarming that there's like a stall for 2 weeks, as this motion just sort of keeps us on track, because it certainly feels like there's a lot of foot dragging, whether it be from lawyers or whatnot. I don't know what the reason is, why after being such an incredibly great client that we're not able to get the service that we should be getting, and we have to wait 2 weeks to talk to somebody. But I just wanted to comment about a particular section of Robert's rules that makes this so important. I believe that the question that was asked to the judicial review had nothing to do with whether or not we were a duly constituted board. And we were not a duly constituted board because the basics, the very beginning of basics, it actually starts in number 1 under Robert's rules. But the piece I'm looking at is under 4916, which states, in any case, the board can transact business only in a regular or properly called meeting of which every board member has been sent any required notice and is included. All of our board meetings were unduly constituted when we acted. We owe a duty and an obligation to set things right. We must, where is the wording on this? We absolutely owe it to our public to have these discussions and to move forward, and we need to get on it quickly. I believe that it is important to inform the minister that we are aware of this, because of course the judicial review didn't actually bring that piece up. It wasn't part of the discussion. It was just whether or not we were allowed as a board to remove 2 trustees. We were not. And therefore every meeting without proper notice, without those individuals at the table was unduly constituted. So we are attempting to move forward in a good way, to meet our lawyer on Friday, 2 weeks after the verdict. But in the meantime, let's set those placeholders, let's have the discussion, and let's hear from people.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Leonard.
Thanks. Both of these motions before us this evening touch on the discussions we need to have with legal counsel before we can move forward as a board. I think it's really important that we don't put ourselves in any issues moving forward. And so I'm not comfortable talking about the issues before us until we've had the chance to confer with our legal counsel, which has been set, has been mentioned before, for Friday. So we tried to get it as early as possible, and that was the earliest we could get everybody together. So that's when we're going to have the discussion. So I'm happy to move forward with these if and when we can see our way clear to do that after we've conferred with counsel. But it's really important, considering what was before the judicial review and what has come out of that, and things that we have to remedy and to move forward as a board. And I think that this is premature having any discussion of this magnitude before us this evening. So I can't support the agenda moving forward as well.
Thanks, Trustee Leonard. President Humphreys, you've got your hand up. Typically, during board meetings, we once the board starts debating, we don't typically allow stakeholders, but I've been known to be flexible on this rule because I certainly don't want to exclude your voice, especially because we've not had our stakeholders here for quite some time. So I'm willing to show some latitude and let you speak. Go ahead.
I appreciate that, and I forgot that we had shifted from a committee to a board meeting, and I'm still getting my head around all that. So I appreciate your flexibility on that, Chair. I'm just here to speak for parents, right? I'm here to speak for parents and guardians. And this is a matter of great public interest. And when we're talking about approving or not approving an agenda for a special board meeting about a topic that is of huge, huge public interest, it concerns me when I hear things like we shouldn't be talking about this in public, or, you know, we should put it off. I don't see that any of these items are things that can't be discussed in public, and I don't see why they couldn't be discussed now and then discussed again later further when you have advice. particularly and want to know, and I'm not asking right now, but I'm just saying, part of the substance of this is the cost of investigations, of things that have already passed, and then the future cost of more legal fees, of more money that is being spent on this instead of being spent on the students in this district. And we know there are students who are not receiving an adequate education, who are not getting served in the way that they should be. And we know that a lot of that is tied to funds. And I am highly concerned for families to see this continued debate when we could be moving forward. So I've said my piece, and that's what I'm here to say. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, President Humphreys, for your words and being that voice that's important to hear, and I appreciate having that here at the table. Any other speakers to approving the agenda this evening? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call the question on approval of the agenda as amended. All those in favor, please signify. All of those opposed? And carrying the agenda fails. As a result, the special meeting is automatically adjourned. There is no other business on the agenda this evening.
How
Motion is not necessary.
disappointing. You should be.
Thank you, trustees.